Say less when you feel her slipping is the opposite of what your heart insists, and that is exactly why it works. The moment attraction drops, chasing turns gravity into resistance. You push and she leans away. This guide begins by honoring a boundary. You are not here to manipulate. You are here to stop rewarding what devalues you. Think of a chilly April afternoon in Oslo when the tram is late and nobody shouts. Restraint is not passivity, it is social grace. In dating, restraint flips the power quietly because calm is rare and neediness is loud. Before any tactic, read the terrain. There are 3 distinct climates that shape your moves. One where chemistry is alive, one where it is uncertain, and one where it is almost gone. You do not threaten loss in the first, and you do not bargain in the last. The middle is the gray stretch where she neither claims you nor lets you go. Replies slow, plans blur, and energy grows inconsistent. That ambiguity is the only place where you should consider raising the price of your presence. Everywhere else, your best move is either continue naturally or exit cleanly. In the warmest phase, what she wants is your steadiness inside a light mist of surprise. She will watch how you handle little turbulence, and your test is to protect your center. If a date falls through, you send one neutral line and you return to your life. The way Norwegians slip into a cafe for something koselig when the weather turns. You neither scold nor sell yourself. Your value is demonstrated by how little the wind shakes you. Too much validation here does not create safety. It smothers the spark that mystery keeps alive.
When the temperature cools to gray, the rules change. She takes longer to answer, suggests later, forgets to follow up, yet she does not vanish. This is where you let her feel, without drama, that access is earned. Not by ice, not by sarcasm, but by replacing pursuit with presence elsewhere. The quiet threat of loss is not a speech, it is your schedule filling up, your attention pruning, your posture relaxing. In a minute, you will learn a single word that crystallizes this shift. At the far end sits the black zone, where consistent avoidance and cancelled plans tell you the connection is starving. Here, you reclaim time outright rather than negotiate crumbs. We will map the exact phrasing later, but understand the ethic now. You state you need space, not to punish, but to end a pattern that keeps you small.
This whole framework rests on the simple principle of power. Independence first, affection second. In countries shaped by Janteloven, humility tempers ego. In romance, humility is knowing you do not have to be chosen to feel worthy. Calm in the bright zone is not silence to punish, it is signaling that your life has rhythm beyond romance. When she flakes once, your entire response can be a single neutral line. Then you return to the projects and people that already needed you. In Oslo, when rain switches to sleet without warning, nobody curses the sky. They zip the jacket and keep moving. Your posture after a no-show should feel like that, composed and lightly amused, because composure creates the contrast that invites her back without pleading. Not rewarding poor behavior is less about rules and more about refusing to subsidize boredom. When she disappears for days and then resurfaces with a selfie fishing for attention, you do not rush to applaud. You answer like a person with a full plate and a warm center. You stop sprinkling extra likes, you stop pitching your qualities, and you let silence carry the part you used to fill with reassurance. In Norway, there is dugnad, the spirit of shared effort. If the energy stops being mutual, you pause your contribution until teamwork returns. The gray zone arrives when her interest becomes intermittent but not absent, and this is where quiet scarcity flips value. Your availability narrows, your replies slow to match her cadence, and your plans prefer those who prefer you. You do not freeze her out, you simply honor a principle that attention flows where it is valued.
Think of fredagskos at week's end, the small ceremony of making things cozy and unhurried. You give that warmth to those who show up, and she must feel the difference.
Now, the friend trigger.
One word that reframes the entire dance without theatrics. Calling her friend is not a taunt, it is a calm label that moves the frame from chase to platonic baseline, which removes the oxygen from her ambiguity. It communicates that you will be warm, but you will not compete for reluctant affection, and the power flips because the pursuit ends. The effect is elegant precisely because it lacks edge. There is no sarcasm, only a boundary delivered like a weather report. Under the hood, several forces make this work. Commitment and consistency push people to align actions with identities, so if she wants romance, she must act beyond friendship. Reactance ensures that when freedom to be pursued vanishes, the appetite to regain attention often spikes, and loss aversion makes slipping status feel heavier than gaining it ever did. By naming friend, you give her a safe path to step forward or a graceful landing to stop stringing you along, and either outcome preserves your dignity. Timing is everything, and this word belongs only after a pattern of lukewarm signals. If she has cancelled twice, replies late, and keeps your invitations in limbo, you let the label fall into conversation the way Norwegians take a kaffepause, measured and human. You might reflect her vibe, mention you enjoy keeping things light, and say you see her more as a friend now, then pivot to your plans without dramatic ellipses. The point is not to sting, but to set the stage where she must either cross the line or stay on the side she helped draw. When you introduce the word, keep it feather light.
Over text, you might say you enjoy chatting, yet you're feeling more of a friend vibe. Then mention you're heading out to meet people and wish her a good evening, and you let the conversation end there without suspense. On a call, the tone is relaxed and smiling, the way Norwegians soften a blunt truth with warmth. You say you appreciate her energy, you see it as friendly, and you pivot to plans you already had. In person, your body language does the heavy lifting. Open shoulders, easy eye contact, a small nod that says you are settled, not pleading. The frame shift lands because you act as if it is the most natural classification in the world. Expect two broad reactions. One is a playful protest, where she bumps the label back, asks if that is what you really think, or tests your certainty by turning up the flirt. If you truly see her as potential, you do not rush to erase the word. You let her cross the line through initiative, planning, and presence, and you meet her halfway only when actions replace ambiguity. The other reaction is quiet agreement, which is its own answer, and you accept it with grace. In both cases, you have removed the cost of chasing and restored your dignity, which is the oxygen your attraction needed to breathe.
If she leans in after the friend trigger, you do not gloat or switch to tests of your own, you simply set a new pace. You propose something concrete once, you hold to logistics like a Bergen train timetable, and you let momentum carry you instead of micromanaging it. When affection appears, you match it, not exceed it, and you keep a life that would matter even if romance disappeared. That balance is why the word works. It is not a trap, it is a truth about where you place yourself when signals are mixed. If she stays friendly and the pattern of low effort persists, you move toward the zone where the healthiest act is to reclaim space. Criteria look like repeated cancellations, persistent avoidance of meeting, and a lack of curiosity about your world, even when you open a door. Think of a quiet Sunday on a hytte deck facing a cold fjord. The calm does not hide anger, it honors distance. You are not owed enthusiasm, and she is not owed unlimited access to your time while undecided. The way you ask for space should be short, direct, and kind. You might say you enjoy her, but you need to step back because the current rhythm does not feel good for you, and you wish her well. You do not negotiate, threaten, or leave a breadcrumb like maybe later. You close the loop the way experienced hikers in Nordmarka leave no trace. Afterwards, you unfollow the micro habits that kept you tethered. You stop orbiting her updates, and you return attention to people who reciprocate with warmth and initiative. Holding the frame after space is where most people stumble, because the discomfort invites second guessing.
Treat your decision as you would treat a boundary about sleep, work, or training. It is maintenance, not drama. If she reaches out later with genuine effort, you can reassess without rewriting history. If she resurfaces with the same ambiguity, you are already on a different path. Power lives where your daily choices align with your stated standard, and your standard is mutual interest or a friendly distance. The biggest mistakes happen when you confuse boundaries with punishment, because a boundary is a promise to yourself while punishment is a performance for someone else. Sarcasm feels clever in the moment and rots attraction later. And withholding affection to make her chase turns you into the very drama you claim to avoid. Weaponizing silence also backfires. True scarcity is you using time well, not pretending to be busy while keeping one eye on her stories. If you feel the urge to sting, go for a cold walk and let your breath meet the air the way people do along the Akerselva in winter. By the time your face warms again, the impulse to prove a point usually passes. Another common error is deploying the friend trigger when connection is still bright, which converts vibrant tension into polite distance. You do not label a fire embers because a gust startled the flame. You watch for the pattern. If she initiates, makes plans, and invests, you do not constrain the dynamic to prove you could. You let momentum breathe. The word exists for mixed signals, not for moments when you feel temporarily uncertain. And restraint here is like choosing not to interrupt a quiet fjord with loud music. The silence carries further when you trust it.
Reactivity is also poison, especially when you turn a clean line into a lecture that smuggles neediness under the banner of honesty. Jealousy games, manufactured triangles, and cryptic posts are equally corrosive. They advertise a life curated for effect rather than lived for joy. In a culture shaped by Janteloven, there is an instinct not to boast, and that humility is useful here. You do not announce your value, you embody it in calm, consistent action. Precision of language matters because modern romance flows through text where tone misfires easily. Keep your words short and your timing aligned with your intent, the way Norwegian trains announce arrivals without commentary. If you are disappointed, name only what you will do differently and move on. Do not stack adjectives or collect evidence. You will be tempted to send a final flourish after your boundary, but the most elegant messages in dating read like the minimalist lines of a Norwegian cabin, clean enough that air can move around them.
Across a single week, your aim is to stabilize first, then test clarity, then decide. The early days are for calming your system and refilling your calendar with real life, not theater. You train, you work, you see friends, you cook something simple with brunost on crisp bread and let the quiet rebuild your baseline. Midweek, you reflect on whether her signals remain inconsistent, and only if they do, you let the friend label land in a light exchange, and then you disappear into your plans without cliffhangers. Late in the week, you read the results. Renewed initiative and concrete plans suggest the frame reset succeeded, while continued drift points you toward space. The rhythm resembles the way Norwegians welcome spring with utepils when the sun finally warms a bench. You let warmth meet effort rather than chasing rays around the square. If the friend trigger draws her closer, you keep your hands off the dials and allow the interaction to reassemble itself at a healthier pace. You accept one invitation or propose one and then let logistics breathe, and you let her actions write the next page instead of drafting it for her. When she shows curiosity about your world, answer with color rather than with a resume. Tell a small story about a hike in Nordmarka or a ferry ride on the Oslo fjord and invite her into the moment you actually lived. Matching, not mirroring, is your compass. You meet effort with effort and leave room for surprise. If the label yields only friendliness, you convert clarity into movement by stepping back without bitterness. This is where the space message lives. A brief note that you like her and need to recenter because the rhythm does not fit you, delivered without a hook for debate.
After you send it, you make a clean coastline by pruning the micro habits that kept you circling, because coastlines erode where tides keep nibbling. Take yourself to a small museum, buy a quick lunch before a long walk, learn a new route through your city. The point is to prove to your nervous system that life expands the moment you remove friction. Saying you need space is not the end of desire, it is the beginning of better standards. Some people return with depth after the pause, and you can welcome that without rewriting the boundary that made room for it. Others will hover, and your evenness in the face of hovering is the final proof that you meant what you said. Think of slow TV in Norway, those hours of unhurried rail across white mountains. Not every stretch needs action to be meaningful, and not every message needs reply to be complete. Picture a week where you practice everything you have read, not as theater, but as care for your center. The first morning you notice distance, you quiet the impulse to over-explain and pour effort into the life you already chose, the way someone sets coffee to drip while snow softens the city. You train, you work, you answer messages from friends you have neglected, and you let your nervous system relearn that time fills when you stop grasping. The second day, you answer her with the same temperature she offers, and you keep plans that existed before her texts, because continuity is the seed of confidence. The third day, you move your body outside, and during that walk, you rehearse the friend line until it feels true in your mouth, not as a weapon, but as a gentle description of a rhythm that has already appeared.
Midweek, you let the label land if ambiguity has persisted, and you do it while smiling at something unrelated, perhaps a dog skittering along slush by the harbor. You deliver the word like a fact about the weather, and then you return to your day without checking the horizon, because checking is the tax of insecurity, and you are finished paying it. The following day, you notice whether her actions rise to meet the new frame, or whether friendliness is the plateau, and either answer is welcome because both give you a direction. You schedule one thing that feeds your attention rather than drains it, a class or a dinner or a quiet hour reading, and you let your calendar learn that you are not waiting. The weekend arrives and with it clarity, and clarity always tastes cleaner than adrenaline. If the frame reset draws her forward, your pace remains unhurried and specific. You accept the meeting that is easy to arrange. You choose a place with light and room to hear, and you bring your curiosity rather than your resume. You keep your phone face down. You listen more than you pitch, and you allow silence between topics the way water widens between islands near the fjord. When attraction rekindles, you write it with simple sentences and shared logistics, not with declarations that outrun reality. You remember that momentum is a living thing that bruises under pressure, so you apply respect and space in proportions that let it move. If instead the friendship holds and nothing more appears, you bow to the truth and claim the week's final act. You tell her you are stepping back to recenter because the rhythm does not suit you, and you wish her well without a comma that suggests negotiation. Midweek, you let the label land if ambiguity has persisted, and you do it while smiling at something unrelated, perhaps a dog skittering along slush by the harbor. You deliver the word like a fact about the weather, and then you return to your day without checking the horizon, because checking is the tax of insecurity, and you are finished paying it. The following day, you notice whether her actions rise to meet the new frame, or whether friendliness is the plateau, and either answer is welcome because both give you a direction. You schedule one thing that feeds your attention rather than drains it, a class or a dinner or a quiet hour reading, and you let your calendar learn that you are not waiting. The weekend arrives and with it clarity, and clarity always tastes cleaner than adrenaline. If the frame reset draws her forward, your pace remains unhurried and specific. You accept the meeting that is easy to arrange. You choose a place with light and room to hear, and you bring your curiosity rather than your resume. You keep your phone face down. You listen more than you pitch, and you allow silence between topics the way water widens between islands near the fjord. When attraction rekindles, you write it with simple sentences and shared logistics, not with declarations that outrun reality. You remember that momentum is a living thing that bruises under pressure, so you apply respect and space in proportions that let it move. If instead the friendship holds and nothing more appears, you bow to the truth and claim the week's final act. You tell her you are stepping back to recenter because the rhythm does not suit you, and you wish her well without a comma that suggests negotiation.
You mute the channels that drag you toward analysis, and you turn to your own experiments in living, because new inputs stabilize faster than old loops. You treat your boundary like sleep or training, a practice you keep even on dull days, and the steadiness becomes its own reward. There is dignity in closing a door softly when the room no longer fits, and that dignity is exactly what future romance will recognize. Along the way, you will feel the tug to test or perform, and every time it shows up, you can meet it with a small Nordic ritual of calm. You take a breath against cold air at a tram stop. You notice your shoulders, you loosen your jaw, and you let patience return like light in late winter. The silence you hold is not emptiness, it is a vote for your attention, and attention is the currency that actually moves desire. You do not feed ambiguity with arguments, and you do not starve yourself to make a point. You simply redirect energy to places that multiply it. The person who lives this way becomes easy to love because they do not beg for it. You came for a line to use when attraction drops, and you have it, but you also have the ethic that makes it honorable. Say friend when the pattern is gray, and you mean it, and let actions decide what happens next. Ask for space when the pattern darkens, and then keep the promise to yourself with a quiet spine. In brighter stretches, stay calm. Stop rewarding poor behavior, and let surprise breathe where control once crowded it, because mystery is not manipulation when paired with respect.
All of this is not less of a trick than a standard, and standards are how you flip power without raising your voice. You will know it worked not by her reaction alone, but by the way your days feel fuller, steadier, and more yours.